Love don't always feel good. I think it's important that it says honor and respect and not love. Because then if I don't feel like loving you, what's next?
I think a man will pretty much sacrifice himself for anybody. A man will see a random kid being injured and he'll sacrifice his physical well-being for that stranger. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of innate. I think that's in us. Welcome to another episode of the Aftermath Podcast. I'm your host, Randy C. Mays, and we have the lovely
Princess Mays.
Thank you for joining me. You have no idea what we're finna do today.
No, so what? Because he told me what we doing?
We finna record an episode, baby.
What the episode is about?
I don't know yet. We finna do this. We finna do this impromptu.
Okay. Well, you're here.
So how your weekend been, baby?
Amazing.
What we do this weekend? what your man do?
So Saturday we went
Take your time, brag.
I can't. We went to a horse race at Lone Star Park in Grand Prairie. Mm-hmm. Amazing, 10 out of 10. We will be going back again very soon. But yeah, we went to the horse race. It was good. Yeah, a good time.
So we are in the month of June. Our pastor takes sabbatical. So oftentimes, since we serve year round, we'll kind of take a Sunday off here, then maybe try a different church there where we get the opportunity to kind of worship somewhere else. Where we worship at today, babe?
Immersion Church in Fort Worth.
Wasn't it Pastor Brandon Freeman?
Yes, Pastor Brandon Freeman. Yes, it's the pastor.
So
amazing.
What I love about that is that sometimes when you serve year round, even if you're not like on the schedule to serve at church, you're still on the schedule. So you don't always get the opportunity to kind of worship freely or actually hear a word and actually relax because you may get pulled or asked to do something. So going to another church where nobody knows you and you kind of get to I'm on a security team at our church. So some of that is we can never close our eyes. That's an intimate time with God that you can kind of close your eyes. So just to be able to go and kind of worship and kind of hear a word and close my eyes and actually worship, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah. So, excellent word. Awesome time.
It was. And I enjoyed worship too. Amazing. All together.
Love it. So I've been saying, I'm a social media guy. And there's an influencer that posted like a post and it was talking about how certain women like will refuse to change their last name. And it was a whole debate on there. Some people like my degree is on the name. I want my daddy's last name on that degree. Some of them say that I'll hyphenate my name, but I'm never getting rid of my last name, even though I'm married. And there were guys who some said they didn't care. There were women who said that the women were wrong. What's kind of your opinion on married women getting married or about to be married, not changing their last name?
So basically, if you're called to become one, I don't understand the why not. What is it? Why are you holding on to something so important than a covenant between you, your spouse, and God?
So, I mean, what if their justification is that they've become a brand on their own? They have a business in that name. They have degrees in that name.
Is your brand more important than your marriage? Is your brand more important than the covenant? Is your brand more important than the will of God? Yeah, because we're supposed to become one. So it's okay if your brand is still whatever, but not wanting to change your last name officially is insane to me.
I think my take on it, to be honest with me, having been married before, to be honest, not being willing to change your last name is actually a deal breaker for me. Yeah. Like you that has to change. Because here's what I know for sure. You can't not want to take my last name. And then if something happened with our marriage, you want to take half.
Yeah.
My bank account is in that name.
Yeah.
The retirement account is in that name. So that just kind of doesn't make sense to me. And even for the guys who are okay with it, I think they're only okay with it because they may love that woman so much. I don't think they're really okay with it. I actually think internally they actually feel disrespect. I feel disrespected that you wouldn't want to take my last name.
Yeah, I don't think nothing should be that deep to where you don't want to become one with your husband. And if a man is saying he's okay with it, it's probably because he asked and he saw how you responded or
Right.
how important you keeping your name
Right.
was versus I'm getting my husband's last name.
Yeah, so I would even recommend having that conversation
Premarital.
early on. Yeah, early on in the dating process. That way, if the beliefs don't align, you can just kind of decide to move around before you get too deep and fall in love and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that
Understanding the person's why behind it is important.
True.
I don't think nothing is more important than becoming one with your spouse if
Right.
it's a God ordained marriage.
Because you had a fire name.
So
You had a fire name, but yeah, Princess Flowers kind of flowed, but yeah, you got to change. But you got to get used to it.
everybody was like, "No, you're changing your name." I'm like, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
I tried to change it the next day. Matter of fact, let's start
I
there.
did see some, yeah. You expedited that. Yeah, so I appreciate that. So this is what people always ask us, kind of when they come and sit down at the. We got this little seating area, in the house now, and we kind of sit down. We kind of have dialogue with just different people as they come over and kind of hang with us and stuff. And they always want to know like how we met.
I think you should answer the question, how did we meet?
You want me to answer?
Because you done told 12 different stories that you probably don't even remember how we met.
At church.
How?
So I was serving at all things well. I was doing all things well unto the Lord, serving at church, like I always been doing for years. Since for the last almost 10 years now, just serving, just minding my own business. And so I'm trained observer, so I always kind of notice different people kind of moving around the church. And so this young lady, she started out way at the back of the church, and she kept looking at me. And so slowly but surely, she kept coming down the aisle, and like walking down the middle of the aisle is like a no-go at our church. Like you don't just move down that center aisle willy-nilly like that. And here she gonna keep moving closer, but she keep like looking at me. So I'm like, I don't know if she has an angle.
I've
I
never
don't know.
sit in the back of the church.
Did you want to tell it?
Okay.
So anyway, coming down the center aisle is just an absolute no-go. You just don't do that at church. So she kind of moving, and so I'm like, is she thinking like she trying to do something? Like she's trying to take me out? Like what's up? Then she started kind of licking her lips a little bit. So then I'm like, man, it's kind of low key, like lightweight, inappropriate for the house of the Lord, like the house of prayer. Like you should never do that. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't know where she was in her walk with Christ. So I'm like, okay, maybe she just in her flesh because I'm handsome. So she just kind of got caught up in her flesh, and so eventually she slid in my DM. She like found me. She somehow found my social media page. She added me on all platforms, and then she ended up sending me a message one day. And so she kind of wrapped it up like she needed prayer since she was in her flesh. And so we just kind of started talking. We got the rapping as that happened.
None of that is true. None of it. He DM'd me first, and I never followed you on nothing but Instagram. So that's not truthful.
You had me on
And
Twitter.
you saw me first.
You had me on Twitter.
I followed you on Twitter 3 weeks later.
It don't matter. I
After
didn't
you
know.
followed me back on
didn't know.
Instagram.
That's all platforms, except for Facebook. But keep going. Tell your story.
So I don't know when. Let's go back. He first saw me when I first joined the church because of the book it had. That's number one. But I follow him on Instagram because my pastor had reposted something that he posted, and I liked it. I agreed with it, so
profound.
I followed him.
It was profound.
I followed him. He DM'd me 3 months later and followed me back 3
Because I don't
months
really
later.
just be studying people like talking about when I be serving.
But then you just say that I DM'd you?
Keep going. Tell your story.
So yes, he DM'd me. We started talking. We started texting, and we ended up dating, engaged, married. End of story. Very simple. He just have to do the exaggeration. I don't know why, but he came after me.
So I met you at what age? 20? Because we're not gonna get into who lying and stuff like that. So I met you at what age?
24.
24,
25.
24, 20. Finna be 25?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Which means I was 33, right? 33.
I was 25. You was 33. Yeah.
So 30, 33. Yeah, 33, 25. And so with 2 kids though. So for me, optics wise, right? if I'm advising anybody and somebody's walking to a situation at 24, 25 years old and considering attaching themselves to somebody with 2 kids, I would probably honestly advise them against it. That's 25 is like you still got a lot going on. You ain't got no kids. You got the whole world like in front of you. So I may not advise them against it. I would make sure they consider like all things though. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm like, hey, anybody else? Like, you know what I'm saying? So but you seem to kind of manage things well when it comes to that. So like that's not normal. So what do you consider when you walking into a dating relationship and considering marriage with somebody with kids? What are all the things to consider?
Main things to consider, I would say, is who they are as a parent, their parenting style, and how they're raising their children, because that matters the most.
What else though? Because that's okay. So cool. If that person is a great parent, they discipline the kid's in order. Is that all you consider?
No.
What else?
Who the person is as a father or mother. And honestly, if God has called you to fit whatever capacity is that you're walking into.
You saying to play the role as to take on the role as a bonus parent?
Yes.
Is that something that you had to like pray about to consider and all that, or is it just kind of like you just kind of felt it, like it just felt right?
It was a little bit of both. I sat back, I analyzed, and I just had to envision myself a part of what you already established as a father. And in that, it's like it's an equipment that God's give you that he confirms, or that he even give you an assignment within the dynamic, to be honest. So it wasn't ideal, but I knew that it was something that God was calling me to. And I could see myself, it's like basically picturing what can I do to add to this? What can I do to better the whole dynamic? Wow. Not just as like a wife. I couldn't focus more on being a wife than I could being a part of the family, a bonus mom. So,
well, was there like I guess in the beginning, like feelings of like, because I would almost think if you're coming into, if you're not like buying a new house, you know what I mean, to participate, like they've already lived in the house, is there like a feelings of like feeling like an outsider at all? Was there any of that?
I think you're always going to feel like an outsider in the beginning of something until you actually establish yourself in it. So yes, in the beginning you do feel like an outsider when you're coming into something with someone who's already been married, who already have children, who already have the home and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's like you're having to fit yourself into something that they already created without you.
And then there comes a point where that's at the beginning. Then there comes a point where now you're comfortable enough to tell everybody they got to take their shoes off before they come in.
Because it's my house. Take them shoes off. You too.
Right. So you got on me this morning, walked through the house, shoes on. Or yesterday. But no, so, I mean, of course, being in the blended family was nothing that I ever even really like witnessed. You know what I mean? So there was no like manual other than like, number one, I think it was set up front like that. What I told the kids, like when she tell you something, it's just like me telling you something. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a precedent set there. I didn't really know, and I still kind of navigating through making sure that you always feel comfortable like that. Like somehow, some way, like that's why, like if the girls do something, I'm like, ugh. Like, you know what I mean? But even though I think it speaks to how comfortable they are with you, because daddy's voice is always going to have a different effect than any other voice in the house. You know what I mean? So like mama may have to say something twice, you know what I'm saying? But daddy, it's just like it was the same thing in my house. Mama always buy all this, that, and other. And daddy come in there and wake us up at like 2 a.m. How does that work? I'm like, y'all take that trash out, clean that back. Like it was just, we moving. But mama is like, So it's like I never want you to ever feel like that's like a slight kind of against you. I think it speaks to how comfortable they are with you, to be honest. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you mean a lot to those girls. And I know in the message they send you in the conversation y'all have, and then the other part is just like, it's just parenting. Yeah. Kids is dumb. Like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah. So to come in at 25, man, I had to be honest, I always said that if I were to remarry, it's going to be 30 plus. It was going to have to be 30 plus. I needed you to have gone through whatever and experienced whatever and blah, blah, blah. And so then, you kind of find out more. And another thing, y'all, that I didn't know I needed to see. Well, I knew I needed to see, but I didn't expect God to do it so fast, was seeing you in just various seasons of life. And so I feel, and she's going to have to do a whole episode one day and share what she wants to share. But I think God took every season that I would want to see a potential partner in, and I think he condensed it to probably about, I don't even know if it was 6 months, probably about 4. I mean, everything, jobs, everything, this, that, and the other. And I had no problem with how she managed things. And it was just, I don't know. It was everything that I need. It was everything that I needed to see. Cause another thing with me was considering being married wasn't, being married again wasn't like, I knew I would get married again. Like I knew that for sure. My struggle with committing though was, I wasn't ready for what the bad days would look like. That was what I ain't signing up. I didn't want to sign up for what the bad days look like. The days where somebody may not be feeling good, or a day where somebody may have an attitude or something. That's what I did not want to sign up for. And that's just marriage. Some days you're gonna be up, some you're gonna be down. Some days you ain't gonna feel it. Some days you ain't gonna like me. And so I had to kind of brace myself and kind of prepare to do that, to do that portion of it. But once God kind of showed me you in different seasons and I saw how you manage it, I was like, if this is how she navigating that, Lord willing, I'll never make her feel like that. So if that's the worst and she's managing that way, so that was kind of my thing, was preparing for what the off times would look like. So what was some of your, or what are, what are kind of your fears or deals when it comes to like marriage or before we got married in the premarital times?
I would say my fears or things that my fears would be so being married before, it's a lot of trauma that I'm sure is brought in, which probably, led to a divorce anyway. So I think my fears is, I won't say not knowing what your triggers are from being married before. So it's kind of like I need to walk on eggshells because I don't know what truly took place or how it left you feeling. It's like, or vice versa. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a tough situation to be in because it's not like I did anything, right, per se. But this is a trigger for you that was caused by someone that I can potentially make you feel again, or that we probably have to go through. And because you have been through something like that before or is triggered by that, it can lead to it being worse.
That's good.
Or even your response. Sometimes you triggered by something and you respond based off what you first felt versus what's actually going on
taking place. Yeah. I think some of that's all going to be stuff that you work through, or that I would have to work through over time, but triggers are 100% my responsibility for sure. And I pray that that there's always a level of pause to where if something were to come up, that I pause and recognize that it's a trigger from a past incident, like you said, and not to what's kind of taking place. So I pray that'll be an area of prayer that I'm always sensitive, because I think I know myself well enough, but sometimes you just don't know until something pops up. So I pray that I'll be sensitive enough to recognize those triggers as stuff happens and able to take a breath and kind of respond to what's actually taking place. So
yeah, I think you do a good job at that. I think you asked me what before was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But you don't. Again, though, you don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. What stuff look like later. So, but yeah. So what? Yep. Mm-hmm. The kids at school. Yeah. You manage all that well. So kind of what? Coming in, did anybody advise you though? Because like I said, me personally, were you advised like, hey, he got 2 kids? Like, you know what I mean? Was that anybody's kind of like response heading into this?
Not really.
Really?
I think the question came after the engagement. So we dated, January to June before we got engaged. Mm-hmm. I think people didn't realize, well, I think people always saw us as one day getting married, but they never,
right,
actually saw it happen until it happened. So, yeah, after being engaged, I would say yes. I was asked the question, well, how do you feel about him already having 2 kids, being married before, whatever, and you basically have no baggage going into something. Like, how do you feel? And I was like, well, I don't think I can say I don't have baggage, but the load is heavier. But I think what made all that easy to respond to is that we were kind of trying to see how our life looked like in the dating period coming into it. So, but yeah, the thing is, I never got no advice though. They just always asked the question, and when I gave a response, it was, okay, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, because you probably had a little attitude when you respond to them people too. Yeah, you probably had a little attitude and they didn't want to play with you like that.
I like to learn from people, so I don't think like when it came to parenting or motherhood that I would have took any kind of approach to it.
Right. Yeah. That whole the engagement deal. Right, because I had people. I remember, but Benita Reed came up to me on a random whatever in the back of the church and was just like, "Stop praying now. Your wife's on the way." She's like, "I know you don't want to hear it, but she's like, I know you don't want to hear it, but she on the way. God just told me to tell you." And so I was just like, whatever, I'm good. Blah blah, this, that, and other. Then I had another conversation with the people like, "Yeah, we've been to pray for 10 days for blah blah, this, that, and other." And so when I tell you, I just had like a drastic heart change as far as my view, and it really just prepared me for being prepared for whatever the hard times would look like. And it was just super suddenly this, that, and other. And then remember I called you because I'm just like, all right, God has revealed to me this is going to happen real fast. And so even when I got calls about the speed, the people didn't know that what they were doing was confirming what God told me. Because God told me it was going to move fast first. So then when you come along and say, that ain't too fast, it's like, thank you for the confirmation. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think, I think I was sharing with you that couple that was at the Praise Break event, the day after the event, they got engaged. They got married 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like engagement is not the time. I wouldn't say engagement shouldn't be used, especially in our community, as a time period to see if you're compatible. I think the engagement period should be used for counseling, of course. And if you're going to have a wedding, to maybe save for the wedding and other than that, from the engagement time period, it's time to get married. Yeah. Once you've done the order and you've met with your pastor and all that stuff like that, it's time to get married. I don't think it should be as long, drawn out 2 or 3 year engagement. Like that's me personally.
When it's that long, I think when people use the engagement as a learning period because they just marry. They want to marry this person because they think they love them and they see it, and it's way more to marriage than just loving somebody.
Right. During that men's conference, and we discussing silence and men kind of finding their voices. I know something that I personally committed to and want to stay committed to outside of you in this marriage is committing to having the conversations that matter. Not talking about every little bit of everything every time there's a riff or whatever. So I mean, having the conversations that actually matter. Like I said, I try to keep my rule in my head. Like, if it's going to be significant, it's going to bother me in 48, 72 hours, then I think we have a conversation about it. If I'm going to be good after we laugh together and never think about it again, I don't think it's worth business. So kind of what's your take on what conversation needs to be had?
What's my take on?
Do you believe in? Do you think talk about every little bit of everything every time something happens, or what's your kind of?
Because sometimes I just have a attitude and I'm hungry and I got a headache. So no, just because I slammed the door, I probably slammed it because I'm hungry. So no, I don't think.
Don't be slamming my doors in.
I don't. That was just an example.
I know, just
I don't think every little bit of conversation should be had. But I think discernment and because some little stuff can start be a big thing. So having the discernment and desire and love for someone to know, okay, this is unusual. But I do think as you grow with someone, you do know, okay, this is just a hungry headache, hungry attitude, whatever. But this is different. Something caused this today, and I need to figure out why. But yeah, I don't think because some people like to nitpick. I don't like nitpicking.
Right.
Yeah. So every little thing is not, and it shouldn't be a big thing. So I don't think every little thing needs to be a conversation.
Right. Agreed. Let's change gears. Let's talk about friendships. You've seen me have actually major changes in friendships over these last couple of years, and a lot of it, for me personally, came from probably giving access too soon, or too much access too soon, for sure, was one of the things that I learned. But I would say being an adult, I really didn't make a lot of new friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of friends I had were friends that I had since I was 9 years old. So I really didn't know how to kind of move in that space. And so it became something that you kind of feel the need to kind of protect access to when it comes to me and stuff like that, which is super dope, because you see my blind spots when it comes to that. So when it comes to friendships and a new marriage and access, kind of what do you have there in that space?
What do I have?
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you say to that? Grant too much access to your marriage?
Not everyone desires to truly pour into what you have, per se. Some people just want to know what type of person you are, how your marriage is, how your house look, whatever. So it's important to first, I won't say test someone out, but grow and see who they are as a person before you bring that friendship into your marriage, because some people are just not friendship or marriage material. You get what I'm saying? If I have a friend, right, and her goal is to basically come around just to see what marriage life is like, but she enjoyed being single, or she has a negative take on men, I wouldn't bring her around my husband, or she wouldn't be the friend I would call if we have a conflict. Right. You get what I'm saying? So I think just testing people out, seeing who they are as a person, as an individual, or even if it's a couple, see what they are, as a couple, as an individual as well, and then bring them into your home. But I always test them out, see who they are, see what type of stuff they believe in, what conversations look like with them, how are they with the friends that they already have, you get what I'm saying? Then bring them into. But I'm very protective of my home, my space, our girls, and my husband, because I do believe that stuff lingers and stuff rub off. So I'm very protective on who I bring around me. And I just basically just see who they are as a person, how their heart is, how do they speak about certain situations. So
I love it. Love it.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. Yeah, access is that was just a 2 to 3 year period for myself where granted way too much access. Overextended myself, granted way too much access to myself. But that can be tied to you have to really try to seek to understand how God views you and also how other people view you within the kingdom, rather, right? Because there's some times where you may not see the value you may bring to a situation. You may just think you just being you and you bring all this value and you have to protect that. You have to protect your call. You have to protect the anointing that's on your life as well. And so sometimes granting access to that, it'll taint and it'll make you reduce your value. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, man, just if you're in the search for community and search for friendship, understand your value first. Find somebody you trust and ask how they view you. And then, of course, ask God how he views you and kind of what your gift and your purpose is there. And that alone, once you recognize that and who you are, it'll be a lot easier for you to limit, to be more discerning with who you grant access to. So, speaking of friends, how you feel about it? They was talking about girls trips and all that stuff yesterday. What's your take on married women and girls trips and all that?
I like being with my husband, so I don't think that's a fair question for me. I would say one girl trip out of a year is probably cool, but I'm not a fan. Well, it depends on the girls too.
Yeah. So. Yeah, when they were talking at the table yesterday, I think as long as you with grown women, I don't care.
Yeah.
You got to be with people you got with people that is grown for real. Like little kids and single child, I'm good on that just because even though you're your own person and they may be doing what they doing, you're still around it and you're still exposed to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the thing for me. You know me, I don't like guys trips. You know what I'm saying? So that's me. But I would say just be the crowd, and I trust you to exercise discernment on who's going. So it's kind of easy. How you feel about solo trips?
I have been on a solo trip.
I'm saying as married. Hold that thing up.
It depends on the.
Yep. There you go.
I feel like I'm probably 9 times out of 10. It just depends on what is the reason for the solo trip, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been times where you was like, okay, I think you should disconnect for a while. You get what I'm saying? Whatever, and just spend time with God by yourself. That's one thing. But if you feel like you're trying to escape or run from something, that's different. So I can be very overwhelmed when God is giving me directions. And it's basically simply because of my desire is to obey him quickly. Right. But sometimes I become anxious when I don't know the direction of where we're going. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes like the disconnect, and honestly, I don't even think it needs to be a solo trip. We do staycations all the time. You get what I'm saying? Or coffee dates, go to the coffee shop by ourselves. Yeah. I don't think it should take a whole solo trip for you to just, but.
So my suggestion that is one thing wisdom tells me is that, when two become one, I never want your individuality to be lost. And so that was something that you were already doing. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So now if you always with somebody, you get married, of course you with somebody for the rest of your days, and now all of a sudden you just want to go out. It's like, are you escaping this, that, and other? But if it's something like I saw you go to a whole basketball games, like I saw that, not to say you would do that now, but I'm like, I saw you move like that. So that's the area of individuality that I just wouldn't want you to lose or feel you had to forfeit. So it's like for me, I'm good with being at the crib. You know what I'm saying? I like to be at the house. I work a lot, so me being at the house is cool. So for you, if it was just a weekend escape or something like that, and you're doing a staycation solo, it actually wouldn't bother me personally, because I know you're going to come back actually refreshed, so much revelation and all this stuff like that that's going to make you better for this house. Now, if your staycation or your time by yourself is a matter of you spending the weekend to go to New Orleans to get drunk the whole weekend, you just gonna come back hungover and tired. that doesn't make you or this household better. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of my mindset behind that. You know what I'm saying? With like, you ain't running from nothing. It's just a matter of like, I'm getting a lot of downloads. I know what it's like to be in that space where you can't stop the downloads, where you can't even watch a movie without getting a revelation from God, where you can't see a cat cross the street and it's like, okay, man, the Lord is showing me, and and you can't do nothing with it because you can't even, during those time periods, you can't even stand people talking to you because it's interrupting what you and God got going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like stop, y'all be quiet. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's that intimate time with God that I think could be managed better if you're in a room by yourself for a time period. You know what I'm saying? So, but look, I think the situation we have of being in a 50-50 custody situation with the kids is that it's easier to kind of create that time when you got a whole week without the kids. You know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for our setup to where you ain't tripping if I take a couple of hours Monday and go to the cigar shop or I go sit at the coffee, because more than likely I'm gonna call you as soon as I get in the car with something. Yeah. That's another thing though. How do you like, we don't oftentimes sit and open our Bibles together, right? But we have a lot of conversations about the word. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think we have two different learning styles. We have two different ways we have two different ways in how God communicates or reveal, give us revelation. So we pray together a lot. You get what I'm saying? That's important to me. But we also share our revelation. So some way, somehow, we probably not sitting down together with the Bible open saying we're going to read this, but we're always sharing what God is telling us, or revealing what we're studying. It's not as if we don't never. Actually, we do it probably every day. Now that I think about it, we're always in God's word.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure. So
I'm cool with it. I'm not one of those. I prefer, if you're going to study your Bible, you need to study with me, and we have to whatever, because we do have two completely different learning styles. We have two completely different ways that God speaks to us.
Right. Yeah. I would say that was something that we never even talked about in the beginning on what that looked like. I think since both of us studied separately before even coming together on how we move, we just kind of kept with our same style, and it just wasn't a big deal. But I think I would discuss that though, because I could see certain women potentially desiring for the husband to sit everybody down in the living room and do it.
Now, I do think that that's important for someone who don't often or know how to read their Bible. If your job as my husband is to lead me, and you see I struggle in that area, then you see, because remember at one point we sat down with the girls and we was doing Bible study with them. You get what I'm saying? And that wasn't easy, because even the girls have different learning styles
and desires.
Seriously, when it comes to it. So I think for a wife who needs to be led and don't know how to intimately spend time with God, it's necessary.
Got it.
I don't think, but that's another thing that we don't really have a worry about in our marriage, thank God, is that our kids know what our intimate time with God looks like too, to where they now have their own.
Right.
I go to the coffee shop. I do what I do. You go to the cigar shop. You do what you do. Reagan now sees that her time with God is before she touch her phone, or it's not going to happen. You get what I'm saying? That's different than us.
Right. Absolutely. So. Yeah. That's good. You talked about women desiring to be led, and so one of the texts that I kind of stand on and read, of course, is Ephesians 5. And so it outlines some of the principles of marriage as far as the husband requirements and the wife requirements. One part that I shared with that group a couple of weeks ago is that there are like 5 or 6 requirements for the man, and there's only 2 for the woman. And it speaks to the burden and the load that the husband has to carry. But that also, it doesn't mean that the wife is less significant by far. I think it just speaks to how important those two things are that the wife has to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think a man will pretty much sacrifice himself for anybody. Like, you know what I mean? A man will see a random kid being injured and he'll sacrifice his physical well-being for that stranger. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of innate. I think that's in us. But I think that honor and respect piece that's required by the wife is so significant. It don't even say y'all gotta love us. It's just that honor and respect piece is so significant that that's all God gave you. That way it won't be, well, I'm gonna give her 7 things. That way she may get 5 out of 7. I'm gonna give these 2 and you gotta get these 2, right? Because that man will leave if he don't get it. Yeah. I've seen Christian brothers, locked in Christian brothers, be okay with not having grounds for a divorce behind their respect.
Yeah. I think so. When we think of respect and we think of honor, when you honor someone, it holds a level of. So if I honor you, right, it's certain things that I just won't do, which leads to respect stepping in. You get what I'm saying? So even how I love you, if I honor you, my love for you will be different. If I honor and respect you, what I say, what I think, I would take those things captive, even when I'm mad. And that allows me to be able to submit to who my husband is, despite, even if I'm mad, upset, whatever, you get what I'm saying? Because love don't always feel good.
That's good.
So why would I think it's important that it says honor and respect and not love.
That's good. Because
then if I don't feel like loving you, what's next?
That's good. Yeah, I'm silly. So our first real argument, whatever, I made us take a picture together so we could remember it, right? You remember that?
Yes.
I think I got the first. I think I got the first too. It was so I honestly don't remember what it was, but I do remember this though. I think my truck had probably broke down for like the 100th time or something, or she had to take me to pick it up or something like that.
It was in the shop.
It was in the shop, yeah. So she mad as I don't know what about whatever the situation was, and she said, "Well, I'm just gonna let you be until it's time for me to take you to get your truck." And I don't know. That literally meant the world to me. And it made me even check myself because I'm like, wait. She could have said, I'm stranded. I would have had to either catch an Uber or call somebody else. But she still was going to do what she had already committed to do, no matter how she felt about me during that time period. And so that just carries. So I don't even know if I ever shared that with you, how significant that moment was. I'm just like, how many people just would have just left and been like, that nigga can catch a ride and they'll apologize later. But it was just funny. And so it made me approach things differently. And so it's like, it don't even matter what the situation is or what the disagreement is or what the bad energy is during the time period. You made a commitment to do something. And so I desire to just do that no matter what my feelings say.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that...
I'm big on. I don't think you should focus. Like, I had the opportunity at that time to be petty, right?
Right.
But I think that pettiness is one of the first things that you can allow to take place in your marriage. And I don't even think, were we married at the time? Or relationship, period. Yeah. When you allow pettiness to step in, it allows you to take away a lot from that moment, right? Because one thing that I do know that you are a man, for you to be without something, that it can hurt to see how someone treats you in a way. And it's it was just his garbage in the shop. It needs to be picked up, but still, like, you don't kick someone when they down. I wouldn't want nobody to make me feel any type of way. It's easy. It was probably easy to get an Uber, whatever, but still, in that moment, I said I was going to do something, and I never want my words not to carry weight.
That's good. And something that came to mind when you said that, it would have been easy to get Uber. If you got the resources, more like you can get an Uber. I think what pettiness can actually reveal is how easy it may be to live without that person doing that thing. Mm-hmm. So you can do this whole separation thing if you want to, or all this stuff like that, but then you may find out like, I kind of like this apartment to myself. Mm-hmm. Oh dang, I didn't need her or him as bad as I thought that I needed them. I'm actually cool, and I can catch this Uber ride without them saying that to me and looking me upside my head. And so pettiness may actually end up revealing something that you don't want them to know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. Baby love.
Yes, sir. I want to say this, but I don't want to take away that the work it actually requires. What surprised me the most is how easy marriage can actually be. And when I say easy, I'm not saying that it doesn't require work.
Right, for sure.
But once you make up your mind to actually love, be, honor, respect, submit, go through, do life with someone, and you behave in that manner, no matter what you go through, it's still easier because this is the decision I made, and I'm gonna love, respect, honor this person no matter what. And as long as you keep that at the forefront of your mind, that we're going to work out no matter what, I think it makes it easier to endure, go through whatever it's going to go through, because it's just a season. Some stuff is just simply a season.
Yeah. I think, like as we discussed, I think the season that we got married in made that a little different. It made it a little, not easier, of course, 'cause you got to put in the work for sure. But I just think the season, I think kind of being established and further along, you know what I mean? Get married at 30, however old I was, 34 at the time period, into the career, not having to figure out that beginning part of life kind of allows some of that initial stress to kind of be alleviated. And so now we get the opportunity to kind of just focus and travel and, like, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So I think that made it surprisingly easier. You know what I'm saying? So I think that makes it, we get a lot of time to really spend with each other. I even think about how big of a blessing the days off are. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, this could be totally different, because now I can go hard during the week, and then we get that Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You know what I mean? So I'm just grateful for how God kind of affixed and kind of positioned everything for this season to where I get to grind because I like to grind, and I love spending time with y'all. And so I'm able I'm really get the best of both worlds in that regard. So super grateful. Back to the honor thing. I want to mention something, is that was something I don't think that I think we probably talked about Ephesians 5, but I don't think we actually discussed like what sacrifice looked like to you, which is a requirement of me. I have my definition of what I think sacrifice looked like. The dog going up the street. I have my definition of what I think sacrifice look like, but I don't think I ever asked you that. What is sacrifice to you? As I go grab your roll. I'm listening, babe.
What does sacrifice?
Hero, now.
I should have just left music on calm.
Go home.
We're dog parents, y'all.
All right, go ahead.
Ask your question again.
Wait, I don't think I ever asked what sacrifice actually looks like. I think I have an understanding in understanding you and kind of your life and upbringing and all this stuff like that, but I don't think I ever asked, like, what does sacrifice from your husband actually look like?
Okay, sacrifice for my husband.
Right.
I think sacrifice for my husband is basically
From me.
Yeah.
From me. Yeah.
Yes. So, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like our reality. You already do the things to sacrifice for the household. I think sometimes sacrifice. I don't want to just like put emphasis around like providing.
If that's what it is for you, yeah.
It's the way that the sacrificing is being done. You still sacrifice a lot in humility, but I do like the fact that you're also open with how sacrifice feels sometimes. So basically, sacrifice for me for you is just sometimes you just have to work the extra hours. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But in even sacrificing your time with your family, when it does come time for us to be together, you're actually in that moment with us per se. So I mean, I think sacrifice for me of what I desire from you is already what you're doing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, I got you.
If I answered.
It's just emphasis on the providing peace and how that's executed and done, because men's mental health is a thing, and men being solid and men being reduced to just providers is a thing. I know you view me as more than that, but I forgot my thought. But anyway, so for me, for the honor piece, I realized that I lied to myself a lot previously about like what I actually like desire. I didn't realize that I actually had a desire to be seen. You know what I'm saying? When you can walk outside of your house, I remember being like a kid, or I was a teenager. I was working at AT&T, and this guy walked by me, and then he looked, and he just had a conversation, and he came back, and he said, "You are afraid of your greatness." He just came, and he just randomly started. But I had so many encounters like that, like from just different people. And even into my adult years, having kids and all this stuff like that, I would have just these strange encounters. And so it's like, how am I having all these encounters and being seen so much outside of my house?
Yeah.
When the people who directly benefit from whatever is attached to me, I feel like they ain't seen nothing. And so I think, so for the honor piece, it was time periods where even you may call and you may call me and be like, listen, you're going to have to start using your voice. You're going to have to stop doing this. You can't, even accountability, you can't carry yourself that way because you're called to do X, Y, Z. And I don't think I ever felt so seen in my life. Like not by somebody that was like that close to me. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just, and even my parents were great. They affirmed me and they told me, if you wanted to be a pilot, you can be a pilot. If you can do this and be a doctor. They told me I could do all this stuff. But even affirmation in like gifts and like leadership and stuff came from somebody outside the house. And all those people are intentional. My parents had a role to get me here and to feed me and all that stuff like that. Did great. But it was like certain things I desired to be seen by something or someone that I was directly attached to. Yeah. And so honor for me is the fact that I'm going to go out here and go get it. I just need you to see that I might be tired.
Yeah.
I will never, ever in a million years want you to work how I work. Never. I would never want anybody in this house to work like that. But the fact that there are time periods where it's just like, all right, you got to go get it. But on your way out the door, here's 3 meals for the day. That makes that scene, and that costs you nothing but 30, 40 minutes of time. I'm going to go give you 17 hours, 18 hours. That's cool. I'm going to give you that. And so to take 30, 40 minutes to honor that, and you're a person that directly benefits what God is doing through whatever that situation is, I'm like, to me, that's honor. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, and even understanding order, I love your people. I come first. Yeah. Vice versa. I love mom and them, but mama know I quit food with her for mine. It don't matter. It don't matter. So it's like straighten up, fly right. You seen when I checked the last week. Yeah, mom, I know you're gonna wipe check last week because you had a little bit too much in it for everybody else when you ain't trying to speak my wife right. We got to redo. No, I'm playing, but yeah, like check. That you need the same energy. But yeah, so for me, I think that's a conversation that if I could do everything over again, that we would have on the front end, because you may realize. I talked to a couple. This was years ago. I talked to a couple, and they were both officers, and she was just so hot that he wouldn't put gas in her car. Like, I mean, I'm talking about, I ain't never supposed to be. She hot. He mad. He like, bro, she blah 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 another. But to her, that was one of her things that made her feel safe. So I think, like, yeah, you ain't got to talk like that. But I'm like, if you had those conversations, I think I wanted to have certain conversations on the front end. That way, I want to know if that's something I can even do, or am I even willing to do? So I mean, like, so if you not going to the gas station makes you feel safe because you don't have to deal with people at the gas station, or you just feel that you should never have to do that because your dad did whatever, then, I have those conversations on the front end, because that could be what sacrifice look like to that person. Mm-hmm. And then honor could be looking like you, the man, getting the plate first and all the stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but Ephesians 5 is definitely, for me, should be required reading for any couple, to be honest. I think single people too. Yeah. I think excuse me, I think that you should really know what you're signing up for. When we sat on that panel a couple weeks ago, it was a couple that had been married like 20 years, solid couple. And they was just like, it literally looks like you're dying to yourself every day. Yeah. Your desires, your flesh, whatever your thing, the temptations are the same, man, woman, whatever. The temptations are what they are. And it's just literally you dying to yourself every day and seeing and loving this person every day. So by far, not experts, but I know that I was going to approach marriage differently this time. And so hopefully the way I move and certain things I do, but I may not even explain that it's kind of understood that I know something about something. And so I know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to apply that to where we can kind of miss some stuff. Whatever challenges that we're going to have later on down the road, they're going to be there. I just don't want to experience the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I just try to apply this stuff and just bring wisdom to it. What you got, baby love?
Pretty much Ephesians 5 requirement. When you said that, one thing it just reminded me of is like certain conversations that I have with my friends who are currently single too, and I do think Ephesians 5 is important for those who are single to know what is required of marriage, but also what is required of you as an individual, right, as well. Especially, and this is for those who desire a godly marriage. Right. If you're going to do your own thing, do your own thing. But if you desire a godly marriage, you also need to know what's required of you as an individual. Right. And that'll make becoming one with someone else easier too, right, though. So say, for instance, like it teaches you that one of the commandments is to love one another as I love you. When you learn to love people with the love of Christ, love becomes easier. Right. And then, like, again, when it comes back to that honor and respect, when you know that there's things that you are to have for every person. So just why wouldn't you overdo that when it comes to the person you're coming in covenant with God? Yeah. Like, yeah. I'm not finna give someone else what I can't give my spouse.
Agreed. That made me think about what we said, what we talking about, I guess it was last night or Friday night or whatever. You can't be a friendly man or a friendly woman to everybody else, and then all of a sudden when they come here, because I think if you're gonna be that friendly and always in somebody else's face, cool if that's really you, but I think that should be the same thing at home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you're gonna always be in somebody else's face and always smiling this, that, and another, and you come home and you don't have that same deal for your wife, whatever that means for your wife or your husband, that means you shouldn't do that out there.
Yeah.
Because that's not you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just like that other person. Yeah. So that stuff be weird to me. What would you tell? What conversation would you have, or what's one thing you would tell the Christian single man that desires to be married?
A Christian single man that desires to be married?
Yeah.
To a Christian single man that desired to be married, one thing that I would tell them is when you're looking at yourself becoming a husband, what type of husband would you desire that your child have? If you have a daughter, what type of man would you want your daughter to marry?
That's good.
And actually sit with that though, because you wouldn't want your daughter marrying anyone, right? So just make sure, because I'm always go for the individual first, not what you become when you're attached to somebody.
Right.
So it's easy for me to tell them what to look for as a wife, but no, sure. First, I think you first should deal with self. Before I became married, when I even knew I desired marriage, I just looked in what kind of wife did I want to be.
Right.
That was important for me because I grew up around a lot of women that I wanted to be nothing like. I didn't have a wife figure that I desired to be like, okay, when I get married, I'm going to treat my husband like that person. So I actually had to learn and grow and decide what type of wife I wanted to be. So that's my advice, vice versa, for a man or woman. What type of spouse would you like for your child to have and become that?
That's good. I think what I would share to the single ladies is just calm down. I would literally say this right here, and I hope that they can hear me well. Unless that man asks you, don't go tell that man that God said that you was their husband. Unless if y'all are having that type of conversation and he asks you, has God said any revelations about our dynamic, blah, 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 don't go and do that. Like, just to calm down. Who you are is who you are. It may be a fit for that man, it may not be. Don't go doing a whole bunch of changes, doing too much and trying to get in that man's head and all this other stuff. It's just calm down. Be you. And if you're suited to be married and you're called to be married, y'all cross paths somehow, some way. Mr. Right ain't going nowhere and you can't rush it.
That's actually good because sometimes people will start dating someone and they'll be everything that they think this person needs and miss out on being who they truly are, to where now the person don't even know how to love this version of you, like not being real and open about who you are.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's it, y'all. We ain't got nothing else. This was kind of impromptu. Yes. We had no script. I didn't even know exactly what direction we were gonna take this. But
I'm finna knock him out when this camera starts, by the way.
I'm gonna leave the camera on because I'm gonna have evidence. But y'all, if y'all like this, leave us a comment, share this with whoever you think it'll help. And any closing thoughts, baby love?
No, come back and see us soon.
God bless.